Hello and welcome to the 20th episode of Born in Quarantine. 20 episodes. That's good. That's better than I have imagined. You know, in Born in Quarantine, we had some highs and we had some lows. We had some good moments and we had some bads. It was balanced and unbalanced at the same time. Well, if I were to be poetic, and who wouldn't want to be, I'd even say it's like, I don't know, being a fiddler on the roof. Yes, that's a glass of milk, and because the character in the story is a milkman, and well, I mean, we need to try it, don't we? Cold milk without any chocolate. Why would people drink this? If you have seen the update video which came out last week instead of this episode, you probably know this is going to be our last one. And for the last episode of the Born in Quarantine, I wanted to go about a movie that it has a very special place in my heart. It's a musical, a genre that I love and I've talked about in depth before in episode 4, and a movie that has helped me many times get out of some of the deepest pits of depression. Fiddler on the Roof. The reason I'm saying it like that is I'm trying to imitate, well, let me just show you.
There's a fiddler on the roof.
It's a movie that has already been talked about so much, but I thought I'd add my voice to it too. And why not start with what makes this movie special purely on a historical basis? I'm just drinking to take the taste of milk out of my mouth, and it's sour cherry soda. It's actually really good. In order to understand the importance of Fiddler on the Roof, the movie, we need to understand when it came out. It came out in 1970s, early 1970s, 1971 to be exact. 1970s was the era of New Hollywood and sort of an antithesis on the studio system. It's the era that gave us The Godfather or The Deer Hunter. It's the era of movies that sort of step away from the glorified vision of the studios. They become more raunchy, they become more risque. They started to add a lot more nudity, sometimes just for the sake of having nudity. And the biggest criminal seemed to be the musical genre, because musical genre was the genre that was embedded into the studio system. And that's where we start. The golden age of musicals, 1950s and 1960s, oftentimes shown with the faces of Fred Astaire and Gene Kelly. These musicals oftentimes had a very simple story. Guy meets girl, guy falls in love with girl, and their main strength was the fact that they were spectacular. You had these elaborate dance scenes, or Fred Astaire would do these amazing choreographed pieces like dancing on the roof in Royal Wedding. And the main mission was to uplift the spirit. The idea of Golden Age musicals was the fact that after World War II there seemed to be a depression, very apt one might say, and Cold War was a threat that was always there. So Golden Age musicals strived to help people, make them feel better. They were feel-good movies. They weren't bad movies by any mean or poorly made. I mean, Singing in the Rain, a Golden Age staple, is probably one of the best musicals ever made. But the fact is, it is trying to help you. You watch it, and the threats are very minimal. There is not a big implication. Even works of people like Vincent Minnelli or George Cukor, who were the French thing, of a musical genre, they were still trying to help you, uplift your spirit. When we watch a Golden Age musical, the main idea is the fact that you feel better about yourself, even if it's a bittersweet ending. They do have serious moments. They do have a scene like in Top Hat, but at the end, you walked out feeling better about yourself. Now comes the 70s. The first movie that sort of kickstarted New Hollywood was Easy Rider. And Easy Rider was a punch. People realized, oh, things are not so hunky-dory, and we need to realize the world today seems absolutely dreadful. If you understood that joke and realized what I was referencing, I highly respect you. Now, during the golden age of musicals, there were more ambitious musicals. You had My Fair Lady, an amazing musical. You had Camelot, another amazing musical. But still, the dominant view was golden age musicals. It was movies like Daddy Longlegs, a movie which I love. And just know, as much as I'm praising Fiddler on the Roof, and I will start to praise it very soon, it does not mean that the movies of the golden age musicals are worthless or bad or should not be viewed. They are still amazing. Bandwagon is an amazing movie. Singing in the Rain is an amazing movie. An American in Paris is just amazing to witness. I mean, it should be just hanged on a wall and be shown on a repeat because it's that amazing. But they were trying to achieve something else. With the 1970s, it seemed the musical genre was just dead. Because how are you going to make a musical and not uplift people? The answer comes in the shape of a Broadway musical, Fiddler on the Roof, and a director that is not talked about nearly enough, Norman Jewison. I may have mispronounced his name. I am not sure. I should have looked it up. I did not. So, what is Fiddler on the Roof? What is this antithesis to the feel-good movie? Well, let's jump into the story of Fiddler on the Roof. It's an old movie and I will not do major spoilers. I will just tell the general idea of the movie. The movie takes place in Russia during the time that it is said or implied, but I do not remember. And in a fictional village of Anatevka. In the Anatevka, there is a Jewish community, and our story follows a dairy farmer named Tevye. Tevye has 3 daughters. He is sort of a poor man. I'm saying sort of because by the standards of the movie, he's poor, but he's wealthy enough to bring in an extra guest. It's a long thing. Just know he sings an amazing song called If I Were a Rich Man. If I were a rich man, dabby 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 dum da dum. All day long I billy bum. If I were a wealthy man, I wouldn't have to work hard. Dabby 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 dum da da da. If I were a bitty rich, idle diddle fiddle guidle man. Yes, again, we are doing a musical episode, so it means I will be singing because YouTube copyright claim system will claim any musical piece I'm going to put there, but I highly encourage you, even if you're not going to watch the movie, which is a shame, definitely check out the movie soundtrack. John Williams did a rearrangement on all of the tracks, and it's amazing, and I just can't tell you how amazing it is. Tevye has 3 daughters, as I mentioned, and the story of Fiddler on the Roof is the fact that his 3 daughters defy tradition. And Tevye, being a traditional man, living in a traditional Jewish community with a very traditional religion, as you know, must come face to face with everything he believed in a critical sense. It's an amazing character study, it's an amazing story in and of itself, and a bit too heavy for a musical. Now, Norman Jewison loves this sort of destruction of tradition. He also made the movie Jesus Christ Superstar, which was about the Catholic traditions. He also made the movie In the Heat of the Night, which was an amazing movie. It has this famous line.
What do they call you up there?
They call me Mr. Tibbs.
And it talked about racial issues that were very prominent back in the day. So that director and that story mixed together very, very well. Fiddler on the Roof, in my opinion, is one of those movies that seems like stars were aligned for it to be made. You have a movie which is about destruction of tradition in a musical genre, a genre that in cinema was bloated with Golden Age musicals, and Golden Age musicals were a tradition, and New Hollywood was there to break that tradition. So early in the New Hollywood, breaking the tradition with a musical genre. A director that understands it perfectly, and an amazing movie composer, John Williams, to work on the music and make it even grander than it is. So you're having the orchestra, you're having the bigger than life musical moments through John Williams' rearrangement of the music. But the story and the feel of the movie is very much opposite of that. This is stupid because I can't show you or play any of the music if I want this video to be copyright claimed free, which it probably won't because the opening credits song, but at least it's not blocked to viewing. This is stupid. I don't know why I'm doing this, but definitely watch the movie and you will listen that this sort of, they are Jewish melodies, by the way. The musical is very localized in its music. It's the Jewish music. The same way that when I talked about Man of La Mancha is Spanish music, but it feels so big when the wedding celebration comes on, but it also manages to feel somber because, well, the story is somber. At the end of the story, and this is not a big spoiler because, well, I will get to that, but this is not a spoiler, believe me. At the end of the story, the Jewish people are driven out of Anatevka, and they sing this incredibly somber song called Anatevka. A little bit of this, a little bit of that, a pot, a pan, a broom, a hat. Someone should have set the match to this place years ago. And yes, sorry, I needed to read that out loud. I tried to memorize it. I have memorized almost all of the other songs, even Matchmaker, Make Me a Match. But this one didn't just stick. It's a very somber song, and you see the plight of these people as they are driven out of their homes. And imagine, they are singing a genre that seemed to be very hopeful and happy. Yes, there were big moments, but none of them sounded this big using John Williams' score. Not his score, he didn't write the music, by the way, he just rearranged it for the orchestra for this movie. I just wanted to mention that because a lot of people think John Williams actually wrote the music to Fiddler on the Roof. He didn't. But the message is so destructive. I've talked about this again. I'm sorry if I keep bringing that episode back, but because these episodes were actually very close. Because Man of La Mancha, the movie, came a year after Fiddler on the Roof, and it had that sort of somber song, Aldonza, but the movie wasn't as good as Fiddler on the Roof, the movie. The musicals are neck to neck, in my opinion, but the movie wasn't as good, mainly because Sophia Loren couldn't sing. But by God, does Chaim Topol knows how to sing. I mean, damn, is that man good at singing. The original voice of Tevye, or the original actor who portrayed Tevye on Broadway, was a man named Zero Mostel, which if you've seen Producers, you probably know him, or if you've seen A Funny Thing Happened on the Way to the Forum, another amazing musical, you've known him. And I've always wondered how he would have portrayed the character if he was brought onto the movie, but Chaim Topol is actually very good too. I'm jumping everywhere. It's probably the most incoherent episode yet. I'm going out with a fucking bang. So the musical came the same way Easy Rider came. It was a punch. For me to say it, imagine a couple of years ago you were watching Fred Astaire singing When an Irresistible Force such as you, meets an old immovable object like me. And then the next year, you have people that are desperate singing, dear Yente, make sure that he's gentle. Remember, you were also a bride. It's not that I'm sentimental. It's just that I'm terrified. And it breaks the mind of the people who were musical fans. You go in and there is this very cold, very somber musical about this guy who has to come face to face with the fact that all that he believed in all of his life is being questioned by his own daughters, and so he needs to choose between being a devoted man or being a father. And there is this amazing scene I wish I could show you. I'm trying to put it in as much as I can.
Can I deny everything I believe in? On the other hand, can I deny my own daughter? If I try and bend that far, I'll break. No. There is no other hand.
It's a minor spoiler, but the first daughter marries someone else. The father says, marry this guy. He says, no, I want to marry this one, which is unheard of in that village. The second daughter leaves the house to go to Siberia with his revolutionary boyfriend. Yes, remember, Russians. Those Russians. And the third daughter, which is this scene about, marries a Christian guy. And Tevye doesn't accept her. If he bends that far, he will break. He bended so much. And yes, it's sad, but it... Okay, remember when I said it's not a big spoiler, what I'm about to tell about the end of the movie? It's because the movie doesn't really have a linear big story. It doesn't have twists and turns and stuff. Literally, a guy has 3 daughters, they marry, and that's it. That's the story. What brings you along is the characters. It's an amazing character study. And yes, in any form of traditional storytelling, Tevye needs to go through his arc and accept his daughter no matter what. That's the arc. That's the traditional arc. Not here. Tevye doesn't accept her because Tevye is still a devoted Jewish man. He cannot accept his daughter marry outside of his creed. It's time for part 3, the conclusion. This is a rare occurrence filming, by the way. It's day outside and it's very hot here. I had to turn off the cooling system because the noise would have been too much. It's right here and it's very hot. And I'm filming during the day. I usually film at like 3-4 a.m. because my sleep schedule is very unorganized. But yeah, just saying, if you're seeing me sweating here, it's because it's very hot. Watching Fiddler on the Roof, and I hope what I'm rambling here actually makes sense to you, but when you watch Fiddler on the Roof, the first thing you realize is that it feels more real. Musical in its core and in its idea is an unrealistic subject. Nobody sings their emotion. Nobody sings their plot in real life. I wish they would, but they don't. So watching a musical, you are already suspending your disbelief just by seeing the genre, because you have to understand people are singing. And you watch this movie that is unrealistic in its core, but feels so real. In comparison to earlier musicals, to Fred Astaire musicals. Fred Astaire musicals were amazing musicals. They were spectacular. Fred Astaire is a man that is unheard of, in my opinion. He's unmatched. He's amazing. And his dancing is just... But the problem with the movies that he was in was that they went with the unrealistic view and built upon that. A very simple story with very happy, preppy characters and amazing dance scenes. Then you have Fiddler on the Roof, which looks very real. Another thing is, it's cold. This is gonna get a little bit too a specialist, but I'm sorry, I need to mention that. Golden Age musicals were warm. Not just the story and the feeling they gave you, the picture itself. They were saturated, the colors were big and they popped and they gave you a warm feeling just looking at them. Even if they were taking place in the cold. Singing in the Rain seems to be a cold scene, but still the colors are so vibrant that it feels warm. It's because Golden Age musicals were a heavy believer in impressionism, in cinema, and also in paintings, but in cinema. So Fiddler on the Roof, the first thing you realize is that everything is murky. It's not as saturated, everything feels, well, grimy and dirty. And when there is a cold scene, it actually feels cold. When there is even a warm scene, the movie feels cold. It also helps that it takes place in Russia, and Russia seems to be a very cold place, but the movie feels cold. And even if you go based on visuals, people are not going to watch the story. They don't. Going from a Golden Age musical to Fiddler on the Roof is a jarring experience. Even the groundbreaking musicals of the Golden Age, like My Fair Lady, they were still warm and vibrant. But suddenly, Fiddler on the Roof was not. So why did I say this movie helped me with pits of depression? I mean, it's a somber movie. Why would it help anyone? At the end of the day, I think, in the movie itself, when they are getting out of Anatevka, you see the fiddler character. There's a character that just pops up everywhere. He's a fiddler. He's actually on the roof at some point. And he plays the melody, and Tevye just motions him to come with us. The movie is somber. It makes you feel sad, but it doesn't make you feel hopeless, in a sense that you don't feel sad. These people are running away from their home. They are forced to leave it. But it's not hopeless. In Fiddler on the Roof, there's this song, To Life. To life, to life, l'chaim. L'chaim, l'chaim, to life. Life has a way of confusing us, blessing and bruising us, doing l'chaim, to life, l'chaim. And in that song, oh my god, I just sang it, but I could have sang this lyrics that, well, there's this lyrics in the song. We raise a glass and sip a drop of schnapps in honor of the great good luck that favored you. We know that when good fortune favors too, such many stand to reason, we deserve it too. To life, l'chaim. Yeah, that song does things to me. In the song, it's obvious. Yes, the ending is bad, but it's not hopeless because they had problems and they survived. They are still going on. The fiddler is following them. They are still going to, well, be that fiddler on the roof and live and sing and drink to life for that one small nugget of happiness. I'm hoping this is making sense. I'm doubting it, but I'm sorry. And I would be amiss if I don't mention the song that probably everyone has heard it. If you haven't heard To Life or If I Were a Rich Man, you probably heard Sunrise, Sunset. Is this the little girl I carried? Is this the little boy that played? I don't remember growing older. When did they? It's an amazing song, and that alone should encourage you to watch the movie. But if you're not, listen to the songs. And actually, Louis Armstrong sings a version of Sunrise Sunset that is heartbreaking. And I highly recommend just searching for it and listening to that one too, because that one is amazing. And even if you don't like musicals, give this one a chance, because I think it's different enough and unique enough that it can probably make you follow along, even if you don't like musicals. But I understand musicals are a very polarizing genre. You either love them to death or you hate them that you can't even stand listening to them. So yeah, with that, we are finishing not only the 20th episode, but the whole series Born in Quarantine. Again, if you haven't watched the update video, I will put it in the cards, and I will definitely put a link in the description. Please watch it. The end of Born in Quarantine doesn't mean the end of the channel. I will still be active, and if you comment or if you contact me, I will definitely be there. And but there are some stuff, and I will try to come back to you soon. So for the last time, if that worked, if this worked, and if that my computer worked, I hope to see you again.